I'm Carl Baldassarre, and today we're going to be talking about the song Moby Dick, which is on Led Zeppelin 2, released in 1969. And this track is a fantastic track, both for guitar and, of course, for John Bonham's drums. It was really one of the great studio drum solos of all time. But we're going to talk more about the guitar track, which is absolutely incredible. And so let's get into it right now. So Moby Dick has an epic guitar riff on it, and it's highly syncopated, and it also has a drop D tuning. And I haven't done the research on this, but I'm not exactly sure back in 1969 how many guitar players had actually really used drop D tuning. I know there was different tunings for folk guitar players back in the day, but for a rock guitarist to do a drop D tuning that early, I think is somewhat noteworthy, no pun intended, to know that Jimmy Page dropped D on this incredible riff. The riff, as you'll well recognize, is a very powerful figure, and it goes like this. And I think what makes that riff so unique is that it's bouncing. It's just totally bouncing. It's very drum-like, and it's highly syncopated. There's only two notes in the riff that are actually on the beat. You know, if your beat is 3, 4, boom, bop, bop, that's it. There's only two notes on the beat. Everything else is floating off the beat and syncopating. And I would just encourage you, if you want to play this right, you really want to think about all of the offbeats and making sure that they're not compressed and shortened or whatever, and just really get that syncopation, because again, this band was super swingy and super syncopated, and to get it right, to play the parts right, and if you're playing this with a band, you really truly kind of have a deep pocket and really understand those syncopated grooves. The drop D tuning creates some fingering challenges for guitar players because things aren't going to be in their normal place, but you can work through that on the internet and just kind of figuring it out for yourself. But once you get it under your fingers, it's not terribly difficult to do. Again, I just reiterate that the groove is going to be found in the syncopation. You see, it's a lot of up-picking on that to get that feeling. But the really sort of astounding piece on guitar for this is the guitar solo, and it's really brief. There's only 4 sections to it. And I'm not going to teach it. I'm just going to comment on maybe some aspects of them, which are great. So the figure wraps around the riff. So, and then you start getting 4. The first one is very straightforward, you know, garden variety kind of pentatonic riff, super excellent. But notice what he's doing with registration, like where he's playing the parts and the figures and the directions that they're going. So that first piece kind of ends on a down. And then the next one comes in, and he has this one technique that we haven't talked about in any of his episodes, but he uses it a handful of times in his career, and it's really extraordinary. It's the he does it most noticeably on the next album, Led Zeppelin 3, on Since I've Been Loving You. He does that reverse rake and down rake on an F minor. So that, and then he does it further on all the time in like A minor. It's a really useful tool on guitar, and just that kind of rake, it's sort of an indistinct sort of collection of notes, kind of a roughed out arpeggio, but you're really getting a lot of just artifact from the pick in there, and it's really powerful and really grabs you. And so he does it to great effect on the the other thing that makes that little figure so cool is that he's doing this bend, a classic Page bend, where he's doing a half-step bend. He wants to get to here, F sharp, and he's on an F. And when he's doing that figure, he's actually outlining this major 7th. It doesn't sound very musical, but it's a very powerful and it actually is very musical once it's put into a chord. But here, That's kind of the outline of that riff. That's the shell that he's playing against, which is so cool. The third phrase of the solo, because there's only 4 of them, and this whole thing goes by so fast, but it is really one of, I think, the best solos he's ever done in the studio. It's so great. The third figure is plays off of the second variation of the riff, which is he does this kind of pull-off violin-sounding figure. It's very, very fast, and it's not triplets. It's kind of 2 short notes and a long note, but it's all going by so fast. I'll play it slow first. So it's a... And the second time it's... And then it ends on back to the root note of D. So he's got it going like this. Like that. It's pretty awesome to play. Once you get under your fingers, it's pretty rewarding to do. And the last figure, you know, if I had a nickel for every time I said it, you know, Page is very, very swingy. The last part of the solo, the fourth figure, is a super swingy part to the solo, and it's coming off of the main figure. I mean, I could play that all day and be very, very happy. It's a great figure to get under your fingers. He has some artifacts in there which are pretty cool. You might be adding an extra note or two, but the general shape of it is just wonderful, wonderful. So I mean, it's basically a clinic in those 4 parts of the solo, and then you go on to the great drum solo, which you know, still has its place. First ballot Hall of Fame drum solos of all time. But just a brief comment on the song Moby Dick. I'm Carl Baldassarre. I hope you enjoyed it.